Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Josh Lockheed, and I'm the training evangelist here at QuoteWerks. Welcome to today's Feature Spotlight webinar, where we'll be talking about product price management within QuoteWerks. From our poll, I see that we have a mix of different users on the call. We have some that are just evaluating the software, all the way up to individuals that have worked with the software for quite a while, and likewise a mix of individuals that are using both desktop as well as web. So I'm going to do my best today to make sure that the concepts that I cover are relevant to those of you that may just be starting, give you some tips and tricks to potentially use the software in better ways than you have in the past. And for those that are longtime users of the software, hopefully I can do the same and show you, if not anything else, just one little piece of information that can help you to better use QuoteWerks. And then likewise, for those of you that are using our desktop and web products, I'll be making sure to hop into both of those during our demo to show you how we can do different things across both of them. Now, with that being said, I do want to just mention a few housekeeping things. First off, we are in GoToMeeting here. If you've used GoToMeeting before, or GoToWebinar, I should say, you know that there is a questions box. If you do have any questions throughout the course of the webinar, I welcome you to type in your questions. I'll see them here and answer them as I can. And if at any point we're not able to address a question to the full extent that you'd like, or we get to the end of the webinar and you forgot to ask something, you can always reach me at community@quoteworks.com. We'll also have a recording available for you and anyone that may have not been able to join, and it'll be sent out to all the registrants of this particular webinar within 24 to 48 hours of the conclusion of the webinar. So keep an eye out for that, and if you have any questions, again, we've got the questions box, and we always have QuoteWerks community@quoteworks.com as an option as well. So while we're here to talk today, particularly around price management, I wanted to frame it within the frame of what we call CPQ, or Configure Price Quote, which is a process that businesses use to go from realizing a particular requirement from a customer to creating that configuration or that product subset, pricing those products, taking into account cost, location, competition rules for selling particular products, and then actually delivering that quote by providing the customer with a document that has all the pricing information, solution, terms, conditions, and more. So this is an important concept because it governs really the process that companies take to go, again, from requirements, discovery, all the way to delivering a quote to a customer. Now we're going to talk briefly about each of these sections here. In the first step of the process, CPQ software allows sales reps to pull together products and services their customers need. And this can result in faster sales cycles, accuracy of data, reduced errors, ability to create workflow rules, save training costs, and increase deal size through upsell and cross-sell. Now, while we don't focus on this today, I would mention that we do have what we call the configurator in QuoteWerks, which does help to put together those advanced configurations. I actually did a webinar earlier in the week on the configurator, so feel free to go and check out our video of that webinar recording if you're interested in understanding how we approach the configure piece of Configure Price and Quote. Now, since pricing doesn't stay the same for long, CPQ software can make it easy to track costs so that you're able to provide the most up-to-date pricing to your customers. And in being able to do so with the QuoteWerks software, you're able to control margin and markup, avoid errors that could potentially have been introduced into spreadsheets or other tools that you're using, better visibility and better flexibility into pricing changes, control over sales rep discounting and the way that they're actually presenting the quote to the customer, and ultimately saving time and less hassle in rolling out price changes. Again, that change management component of things. Now, when it comes to quoting, the final step is easier than manual processes since you already have all the essentials in place. So once you've completed the configuration of pricing, you can pull together the final quote and send it to the customer. And this is really what QuoteWerks is known for, being a quoting solution. But without those other two pieces, the quote is not going to be accurate. It's not going to have the pieces and components that we need. So when it comes to the quote component of CPQ, this gives you the ability to move from prospect to customer faster, which is ultimately the goal of us, to shrink the sales cycle and get to achieve revenue faster. It fosters collaboration and responses throughout the entire quoting process, helps to reduce errors, and ultimately leads to spending less time in creating quotes and proposals, which again, the less time you're spending on quoting, the more time you're spending on selling. So when it comes to price management, we're talking about a couple different components within the QuoteWerks software, and I'm going to really focus on a couple of them today. There are other price management concepts within the QuoteWerks software, but we do try to keep these webinars under 30 minutes or so. So we may or may not get to some of those others, but the ones that we'll be definitely covering are adding and managing product data sources, getting the best, latest pricing, as well as comparing pricing across vendors, using price and or discount modifiers, the Paste Special tool, and document approvals as well. Now, one thing that I didn't list there is actually customer price history, and that's something that we'll talk about here in just a minute as well. So when we're talking about product data sources, we're talking about where are you actually grabbing that product data, the product information? Where are you getting the description from? Where are you getting your cost, your pricing, any other information associated with that particular product or service? Well, we have a couple different options. The first is the QuoteWerks native product data source. And this is going to be where you can import products directly into the QuoteWerks system and use them from, again, this native data source that is included in QuoteWerks. Second option that you have is going to be extended sources. So this might be something like Amazon, Dell, QuickBooks, your CRM or PSA, so Halo PSA, ConnectWise, Autotask, HubSpot, Act for Web. A number of different extended sources can be connected to the QuoteWerks system for you to pull data information from for your products. And then we have Eatalize, and Eatalize is a system that allows you to pull real-time product price availability and product information from your vendors. And this is really in the distributor space. So we're talking about vendors like D&H, Ingram Micro, TD SYNNEX. And Eatalize is a great tool that we'll get into in a little bit more detail, where you can get direct pricing and availability on the products from those distributors in really just a few seconds. So it's a pretty cool tool. So that's one option that we have here that we'll be discussing is the product data sources. So we'll go over importing and updating those sources, how to connect external sources as product data sources, and also briefly touch on Eatalize. Now, best latest compare is an option that you have to actually go in and update pricing, either based on the best pricing, the latest pricing, or you being able to take a look at the comparison between the pricing available in your different product data sources or real time from your vendors. And this is really in place to ensure that you always have the latest pricing in place. And this is a great option for when customers request a requote or go past quote expiration and you need to get another quote out to them that has the more accurate recent pricing. And this is especially useful for any environments where there might be volatile pricing changing on a regular basis. To that point, I actually was working with a manufacturer recently who said that they have set their expirations to 1 week just because of the volatility of pricing in their market. So really important, especially for someone like that, to be able to quickly and easily go back and update pricing to the most recent pricing available. And then to that point, updating your pricing to your most recent cost, and then making sourcing decisions based on current price and availability. And this is done via the real-time module and our real-time feeds into different distributors and or product sources. So we'll talk more about best latest compare in just a few minutes when we get into our demo. But I wanted to also touch on price and discount modifiers. So price and discount modifiers are used to take either the list cost or potentially the cost of the product that you're purchasing and applying a markup or discount to those. So this is going to give you granular control of pricing. This is going to be, again, based on either the cost or list price. It's done at a per line item or at a document level as a default. And you can adjust these ad hoc. So even if you set a document default where, let's say, you have a standard markup of 20% on all your documents, you could still go in and change the line items to reflect a higher or lower margin if you'd like to do so. Another tool that is great, particularly if you're getting pricing from vendors that is maybe a special pricing request or just in a different format. This would be a great option where you can copy data from outside of QuoteWerks and paste it directly into QuoteWerks, and they're going to be displayed as line items on the quote. So this is giving you the ability to take, let's say, an Excel spreadsheet that you got from a vendor with headings, pricing, description, cost, so on and so forth, copy it, paste it in the QuoteWerks system, and it automatically gets added to the quote. So there's a little bit of mapping that's done in that process, but it's really minimal. And this is a really useful thing, particularly if, again, you're getting one-off price quotes or special pricing from vendors. And one of the great things about this as well is, let's say that you get regular special pricing or regular price quotes that come in that format, you can actually save all the settings to a template so that any future imports that you're doing using the Paste Special Wizard, all you have to do is select that template, and you don't have to go through the mapping and some of the additional settings that are required to set up Paste Special. Another thing related to price management is price history. So you do have the ability to list documents that contain specific items and customers based on their search criteria. So if you're in a product, you have the ability to look at the product price history. And this is going to be what you've sold this for across any customer that you've sold this product to before for the selected part number. Or we're going to do customer price history. So this is going to show you just what you've sold that particular product to that customer for in the past. Really insightful for you to be able to make sure that you have the right pricing forward. And you're going to be able to see the item's previous prices, any modifiers that were used, the customers that you sold them to, as well as the outcome. So was that quote converted to an order, or was it not? And that can inform you as to whether or not you'd like to increase, decrease, or keep the pricing the same. And while not directly related to price management, I wanted to also include in this presentation the concept of document approvals, because document approvals allow you to control how and when those particular documents are sent out to the customer by putting in an approval workflow. And these are going to be based on either the document total, the document margin, or individual line item margins. And only documents with correct pricing and product are sent to the customer based on the fact that if they exceed one of these thresholds, there's going to need to be a second set of escalated eyes on it before it can actually be delivered to the customer. So a number of different things that you can do, a number of different features within the QuoteWerks software that can be used to manage your pricing and products. And we're now going to get into a quick demo of how those different things work. So to do that, I'm going to pull up my QuoteWerks web environment. And again, we'll do some of this stuff in QuoteWerks Desktop as well for those of you that are using QuoteWerks Desktop. But the first thing I wanted to just generally discuss is this idea of product data sources. So if you were to select products on the left-hand side here or products on the toolbar, it's going to bring you to the product lookup window. And one of the cool things about this product lookup window is you can have as many sources as you'd like. You can see I've got probably a dozen sources here, and they're all mixtures between, as you can see, Utilize, and then our external sources, so Autotask products, ConnectWise products, Kaseya BMS products, and then I've got a number of internal databases, so for example, my demo items or our products. Now, if you have a QuoteWerks native database, you'll see that you can expand it, and you can also control how these are being displayed in terms of folders and different ways in which we're sorting through this. So really good to mention. It's a great option if you have a price list and you want to just dynamically add it into the system. I'll show you how you do that in a minute. And then moving forward, all you would need to do is just go in and update the pricing anytime there might be a pricing change, or add new products if you're adding new products to your product catalog. So with this, I wanted to show how you would set up a product data source, and that's done by navigating to Setup and then Product Data Sources. And these are going to be the data sources that are supported natively by QuoteWerks here. So for example, if we wanted to go in and create a new product data source, we would just hit New. And we would go through the process of selecting which type of data source it is, and basically just mapping a couple columns. And as soon as we do that, it'll be selectable within the products lookup window, which we just took a look at. So very easy to do, especially if you've got the ConnectWise, Autotask, or one of the other CRMs or PSAs. But additionally, you have the ability, as you see here, our products, T-shirt company, to create those native data sources as well. And the way that you do that is by importing products. So if you are coming in and setting up a native product data source for the first time, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get your products in a format that is lined loosely to the columns and headers that we have within our system, so that you can go and map them and import them into the system. And I'm just going to show you briefly how to do this with a dummy data set. So let me go over to my desktop here, and I've got a file that we're going to use. Bear with me for just one moment. Here we go. Product DB sample. So you can see what I've done is I've selected a text file, or in this case a CSV file, and then we're going to hit next. And what it's doing is it's automatically putting the QuoteWerks fields here and then showing us what available fields are in the text file so we can map those. So we can easily go through and map description to description, manufacturer to manufacturer, manufacturer part number to manufacturer part number, so on and so forth. And this is just like the top 7 fields from the QuoteWerks system. If we hit next, you'll see that you have the ability to map any fields from the QuoteWerks system. So again, this is where it really comes down to, what do you want that external data source to look like? Well, you want it to look like these columns here, but you don't necessarily need to bring all of these columns in. You just want to bring in the columns that make the most sense for you. And for the most part, we do have those in our document. Manufacturer part number, description, cost, price really are the most important. When I hit next, it's going to ask me how I want to create this database. And in this case, I want to create a new database, but we could just as easily put these into other databases as well. So, for example, in a case where you have a new product list that you've gotten from your vendors, or new pricing that has been updated, you've got that CSV file, you can put it into the Product Import Wizard, and instead of creating a new database, you can just select an existing database and come in and use one of the different import modes that we have here. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that if you have a heading row, you're starting at row 2. And then if you're creating a new database, it's perfectly fine to delete all existing products and append the new products, because you're not really deleting anything. It's a blank database to begin with. However, if you are going to be inserting it into another database, you're going to want to really take a look at these import mode options to understand them. One is going to be append all products into existing products, update existing products and append new products, and update existing products but do not append products. If you've got a database in the system already and all you want to do is update existing and add additional products, this option here, update existing products and append new products, is going to be your best option. But again, for the purposes of today, we're just creating a new one, so I'm just going to create a new database, click next. And this is where if you wanted and you're going to see yourself doing product imports from the same vendor on a regular basis, you could save this as a template here, and it's quite easy. Next time you could start the import and you don't actually have to go through all of the additional mapping steps that we just did. So we just discussed how to utilize a product data source, how to add a product data source, how to import products, as well as how to update those products. Just getting back into our products window here, I'd be at a miss if I didn't mention Eatalize. Eatalize is a system that allows you to search your vendors in real time for products, pricing, and availability. So if you have a connection to one of over 25 different distributors that we work with, you could very easily come in, find a product, and as you see here, this particular product's not in stock, but let's see if we click on another one. What we're seeing here is we're seeing a breakdown of the vendors that currently have it and their availability as well. So really cool option that you have, not a native data source, but it is something that is very useful, particularly for those of you that are using vendors like, again, Ingram Micro, D&H, TD SYNNEX, as well as some extended sources that we have available as well, like Amazon, CDW, Staples, and more. So that rounds out the discussion really on the product data sources and importing products. We're going to really get into managing pricing within the document here. So one of the things I wanted to just explain to you a little bit is the price and cost modifiers. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a new blank line just so we can kind of demonstrate how this works. And we'll just call this new product. Doesn't really matter what we call it, but I want to have a label there. And we'll clear out the price modifier here for a moment as well. So let's say that you had a product come in and you have a unit list cost of $1,000, but you don't have a unit cost, but you know that you get a 30% discount, let's say, from your vendor. The cost modifier is a great way to arrive at a unit cost based on the list price. And the way you can do that is just by putting a D and then a number behind it. So for example, if we went D40, that means a 40% discount off list. So it's 40% off $1,000, which gives us our unit cost of $600. So cost modifier, again, is an easy way to utilize the unit list cost to arrive at a unit cost. And then the price modifier is different in that instead of doing a discount off of list, what we're doing is we're applying a markup or margin percentage over the unit cost. So for example, our unit cost right now is $600. Let's say that we wanted to apply a markup of, let's say, 25%. We would put M25 and it will mark up that product 25%. And you'll see that we arrive at our unit price as 75. If we were to change that to, say, a margin of 20%, you'll see that that updates to reflect that 20% margin instead. So this is generally how you would utilize our price and discount modifiers. And there's another cool thing that I wanted to show, which is that if you want, you can actually set a default price or cost modifier, and that's done by going to Options and then Document Items. So here you can see we can set our cost modifier, we can set our price modifier, and then this will apply to the document as they are created. That being said, you can come in and modify them anytime you'd like. It's just what the default's going to be anytime something is added to a quote. Now, another thing that I wanted to show you is actually a pretty cool option. And there's two different ways that we can do this. The first option that we have here is to look at the price history for a product. So you see that I've selected my first product here. And one option that I have to see the price history is to go to Tools and then Show Customer Product Price History. Now, this is showing actually all of our price history for all products. And the reason for that, or for all customers, excuse me, and the reason for that is we haven't brought in a customer yet. Now, best practice is that when you're building a quote, you'll add in a contact first before doing anything else. I missed that step here, but very easily remedied by me going in there and adding a contact. And if I go back to Tools, Show Customer Product History, you'll see that we have the price history just for this particular customer. You'll see we have our modifiers, we have our costs, we have our price, vendors, and it's also cool here that you can see that these are all quotes and they're all open, meaning that none of them have been converted. So just looking at the data that we have here, we might say, you know what, maybe M20 is not the best approach here. We've had 4 opportunities at that markup. We haven't won any of them. Maybe we need to adjust our pricing, resend these quotes, or just keep that in mind for future quotes that we're sending out. Really cool tool to give you some insight into what you've sold this to the customer for in the past. The other option that we have is if we're adding a new product onto our document, we're going to click on it, add selected product to document. 2 things I want to show you here. One is that you do have the ability in the Add Item Assistant to on the fly change the price or cost modifier that you're using. You can do markup percentage, margin points, discount percent, or list, which is a great option for you, again, right on the fly here. And then you'll see we have our price history for our customer. It looks like we've sold it to them once before. And then additionally on this screen, we have the price history for this item across all customers. So again, just a couple more ways that you're able to see what has been quoted, what it has been quoted at, and again, the disposition. So for the ones that say order here, we might say, all right, well, we got an order off of that one. How does that pricing differ from other quotes that we've had, and how might we adjust our pricing moving forward to capture more business. Now, once you have products on a particular quote, let's say again that the customer comes back to you and they say, hey, I need a requote on these products. You want to make sure you're putting your best foot forward. Well, the best button is a great option for that. So if you click on a particular product and hit best, you can go through your different product data sources and find out where the best cost would be. So you'll see I'm selecting my real-time vendors now, but you could just as easily have different product lists from different vendors that may offer the same product to show you which of those vendors has it at the best cost. And you'll see here it just goes and gives us an option to retrieve the pricing. It's going to go out and retrieve that pricing, and it's going to give us our best option if it's changed from what's currently included. And it would update there. Likewise, we can click latest. This is going to do the same thing, but it's just going to go to the vendor that we currently have selected on the document. So making sure we have the most up-to-date pricing. And then let's say we wanted to go out and just take a look at what pricing is available from our different distributors for this particular product. We can hit OK, and it'll bring up a comparison window and show us what the pricing is currently across those different vendors. So as you can see here for this particular product, it looks like we have D&H currently selected. It is the lowest cost. They do have 8 in stock currently, so we would be confident in that particular selection. However, if we wanted to change it, let's say TD SYNNEX had the better cost, we'd easily come over, save it, and it's going to say, hey, well, your previous cost was different. How do you want to calculate this cost change? And it gives you a bunch of different options here, and it'll show you how the original cost compares to the new cost. So in this case, if we're keeping our original price modifier of M20, because the cost is higher than the other original cost, we're actually making $5.98 on this more. So not a problem there. If you were to come in here and see a price drop, you may want to adjust pricing, but very least it does give us the opportunity to make informed decisions here based on that. Now, one last thing that I want to show you as it relates to product price management is something that we call the Paste Special Wizard. The Paste Special Wizard is a ability to take information that you receive from vendors. Again, this might be special pricing, one-off pricing. It might be products that you're just purchasing for one time and you don't want to add them to your product database. Well, the way that you can do that is so long as you have a document with the products in it. So let's say this is a vendor quote that we just received. We've got our quantity, description, unit cost, different fields associated with those products. We can copy that, come into QuoteWerks, go to Paste Special, and we can paste this into the document. Now we're doing this as a new template, but if you had done this before from the same vendor before, you can just as easily choose a template, and that template will be used, and you won't have to do some of the things I'm going to show you here in the next steps. But needless to say, Paste Special is very easy. Copy and paste or upload a file. You map a couple columns. I'm just going to map a few here. Now, I just wanted to kind of simulate how this works, but I'm not going to go through and select all of them. But you can see that we are ultimately mapping the columns. We are potentially pulling in additional information from our product data source if applicable, and if we want to do that, and then we're hitting next. If we wanted, we can create additional mappings, but really it's a matter of getting to this point where we have the ability to insert this into the document. And I'm going to append these to the end of the document right here. And this is the point where if you wanted to save this as a template, you could do so easily by selecting this button. So I'm going to hit next 2 times. And with Paste Special, you can see that all the products and the information that we had on that Excel spreadsheet are now included directly here within the QuoteWerks document. So really cool stuff. Now, last but not least, I wanted to show another piece that's not directly tied to price management, but it does help to ensure that you have controls when it comes to sending out pricing to customers, and that is with document approvals. Right now, I am set up so that the user that I'm using right now has to get approval above $1,000 document totals. So if we hit save first, and then try and deliver this, you'll see that when I try to print preview here, it's telling me that the document has not been approved for release to the customer. It needs to be approved, and that my threshold for approval is anything over $1,000. And we can easily request approval via email here, in which it's actually going to send an email to the approver with a link to their Quote Valet webpage, showing them what the quote is and giving the ability to approve the quote. Now, I did say that we were going to do a little bit in QuoteWerks Desktop. Because of time, we're not going to be able to do nearly as much as I would like. But know that really everything that we've covered today can be done in the desktop product as well. One thing I did want to show you in the desktop product is if you did want to set up those document approval settings, you would want to go to Utilities and User Maintenance. You'd want to select the user that you want to adjust those settings for and hit Preferences. And then here on, oh, I'm sorry, you're going to want to hit Edit. My apologies. And then here on the Documents tab, that's where the document approval settings options are. Now, as you saw, I have, and as you can see here, my approval is just anything over $1,000, but you can set tiered approvals. You can also base it over document margin percentages as well as single item percentages as well. So a lot of different options there. As you can see, there's a lot of different things that you can do when it comes to pricing and price management in QuoteWerks. But I really do hope that some of this has kind of resonated with you and that makes sense given the presentation. Kathy asks, is there an opportunity to add things like labor costs, testing fees, etc.? Certainly, there's a number of different ways you can do that. So one of the ways that's done most often is you just add labor as a product in your product data source. So that's one option. The other option that you might have is to add it in your product data source, but then make it a required item. So let's say you have a product that you sell that needs to be configured. You may make a required item for that particular product, the configuration or installation of that product, so that every time you're quoting that product, that other product is automatically being included on that quote as well. But Kathy, I hope that helped answer a little bit. If you have more questions on that, I think maybe a deep dive into what you're trying to do would help. So, and this is what I like to hear. Teresa says, I didn't know QuoteWerks did that. Well, that's great to hear. I appreciate the feedback. Now, I just want to mention here where we pride ourselves on the resources and our availability to our customers. So know that you've got a ton of different resources out there to help you. Help files, videos, you've got the forum. I put on about 3 to 4 webinars each month. Love to see you there. There's also a tips and tricks email we send out every month highlighting a different feature. Funny enough, Teresa, one of the things in there is I didn't know QuoteWerks did that. So it's funny that you say that specifically. And then we've got our tech support and our sales team. Again, we're ready to engage, happy to help with any questions you may have. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, if you have any questions that we weren't able to answer today, feel free to email me at community@quotewerks.com. All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time. I appreciate it. I, again, hope that you've learned a little bit of something today. And I look forward to seeing you on future webinars. Have a great day.